In other words, it says in the not the Medrash, in the Gemara, in Tonadvei Elio and so on, it says the world will last 6,000 years. That's the amount of time that Olam Hazeh will last. After the year 6,000, which really is the year 7,000, I mean, it's going to last 6,000 years. I mean, it ends in the year 7,000. Starts the Zichuch of Olam Haba, but not really the Zichuch. I don't know if you understand the timing of it.
There's years 7,000, 8,000, 9,000.
But it's not really 7,000. In the year 7,000, in the 1,000 year, when you look at all of history from the time of Olam Hazeh to the beginning of Olam Haba, when is Olam Haba?
Really, you're full-on Olam Haba?
Yeah.
Is in the 10,000th year. Is the start, the end of it, right?
No, in the 11,000th year.
That's at the end of the 10,000th year.
So therefore you're looking, so the beginning of Olam Haba to the end of Olam Hazeh, you know what I mean? That's 6,000 years. So in the 7,000, the beginning of the 7,000th year is no more a period of the Avodah. Why? Because there's Tchias HaMesim. So I want to go slow here because I want you to understand this. It's extremely important to understand what really is going on.
Right.
You know, because it's not discussed. I think maybe Rabbi mentions a couple, but it's not really discussed. No one really discusses it. In order to do mitzvahs, to masaken nam d'ksufa, you have to have a guf. There's got to be two things. There's got to be a union between the spiritual and the physical. So therefore, you need a world where Azduzulosoi is both a guf and a neshama. And both of these are lenses. How do I know it's a lens? Because when you look at Elokai Neshama Sarzautavi, you know.
Neshama Shinatata Bi.
Yes, who's
the neshama?
So, what's the neshama? But who's the bee?
Yeah, who's the bee? I mean, yeah.
And the bee is not B-E-E.
Yeah.
Who's the bee? So you see that you are not your neshama. So what is the neshama?
There's a lens.
Oh, but I'm the only one who says this.
I know.
Everyone always speaks, you know, you have to...
You're a neshama.
You're a neshama, it's precious, you got to take care of it and so on. That's not true. You're not the neshama. So what are you? Nobody says. And what's even worse is you're actually fooled because the neshama is said to be in 5 pieces.
Yeah.
Nefesh, ruach, chaya, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. So there are 5 chalokim of the neshama. Now the highest of all the chalokim is the yechida. Now the yechida is a neshama. It says it's a neshama. You know what I mean? But the yechida is a neshama that you will have in Olam Haba. What?
So it's a lens that you'll have in Olam Haba.
Right. But you see, but they fool you. They don't fool. You can easily make a mistake to assume that simply what happens is you move from one level of neshama to the highest level. The highest level is called the yechida, and that's what you have in Olam Haba. So when it says tzadikim yoshvim, it was saying b'vosiyam, the Kessin was on the hand, v'nenem v'zivashina. Who is that talking about? That's talking about the Zolosoi. Yeah. What is the Zolosoi? So the Zolosoi, it says the Zolosoi is the yechida. But that's considered a part of the neshama. You know what I mean? But you see, so that's why everyone says you have the highest neshama of all the yechida, and it's called yechida from the word yochid, because at that point you recognize God as absolutely one. That einoid means you're part of God is part of you, your foundation. But the Torah calls the Olam Haba the domain of the yechida. You know what I mean? So what's going on here? Right. It's very confusing. You know what I mean? So the truth is, all the parts of the neshama are not a neshama. So what are you? Well, okay, but so before I say that, so what? So that's when I started working on all this. I say, what is going on here? Are you Yineshama? You're not Yineshama. So what do you mean? You're not Yineshama in the first four halakim, and the part of you that has to do with the avodah, I think, I'm not sure, but is the nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The chaya and the yechida. The chaya really corresponds to the olam atzilis, and the yechida corresponds to the world of Adam Kadmon. But so I said, I had a very big point. So I said, "Oh, this is the structure. Something doesn't make sense in all this." Right. Who is the Zolosoi? What does that mean? He has a neshama. You need a lens to have a neshama in olam haba. But according to me, what's the Zulosoi? He is actually an act of self-awareness. There's no neshama in that.
He's a self, right?
He's a self. And that part of his self-awareness that is in olam haba really is the itself of the person. So according to me, the person does not have a neshama in olam haba. All of these 5 levels are treated as if there's some kind of lens.
So wait, he does have it, but meaning he has it. I mean, the self has the neshama.
Yeah, but so why does it need? So the question that I ask is, first of all, who is the Zulasoi? What is he really? Is he a neshama or not? And if he has a neshama, why does he need a neshama? You don't need a lens in olam haba, right? You have to be who you are, and the way you are a self, self, yourself, who has the capacity for self-awareness. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what he has.
So what's the purpose of that lens?
So what is the purpose of that? And so according to me, it's a lens. But the question is, why do you have to have a lens in olam haba?
Right. That's a good question. Yeah.
But it's not only that. It means that the Zulosai goes up to the level of the olam beyond Atzilis, up to the level of Adam Kadmon. That's where he achieves the level of being a resident of olam haba, which is nitzchias. Right. But Adam Kadmon is the world of the Demus Adam. That's the magical word, Demus Adam.
Right. So that's a neshama and a guf.
Well, we don't know what that is, but the question is, why is it a lens? If the neshama is a guf, if the neshama is a lens, what do you need a lens in olam haba? All you need is some kind of what's called a manifestation of a subject in the world of God. So the way I see it, this is a whole different thing. You know what I mean? So how do you reconcile all these different things?
Yeah. What does that lens allow you to see? What is the lens itself?
What is the lens? The question is, what do you need a lens? Because the self-awareness does not come from a lens.
It comes from the self.
Yeah, so what do you need a lens for? I understand you need a lens before that, because it has to give you a false view of what reality is.
Who says that the Zulaso in Olam Haba is a neshama?
The Yechida is called a neshama. It's the 5th and highest chelek of the neshama.
That's what the Arizal says the Zulaso is? Or somebody says that?
Yeah, the Arizal says it. All I think the Zohar says that he's Zohar to the Yechida. The Yechida is mentioned in the Zohar and in the Kabbalah. It's way before the Ari. So we're not clear what's going on here. First of all, who is the Zulasoi? What is the neshama? And third of all, why do you need a neshama in olam haba? According to me,
right?
According to everyone who thinks falsely that you are the neshama. Okay, so you have the top neshama, but according to me, which is a lens, and the neshama is not that. The neshama is simply a lens on the self. So in Olam Haba, you don't need that anymore. So why does the world? It's very important to understand when there's something called the Ishtalshelus. You know what that is? You know what Ishtalshelus means?
Of the way God created the world.
You see, you've come a long way in all our Shurim, you have. But you don't really have a sense that you apply all these principles to a sense of time. What happens throughout what's called temporal universe, a universe in time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're missing that. Because it's not simple.
No.
I had to work that out. Because as I'm building my hashkafa, it has to be consistent with what all this is.
Right. A temporal world. Right.
That's a world in time.
Temporary.
It's time, space-time. It's the essence of Olam Hazeh. So what's going on? And not only that, it seems to be, what is the first stage of existence? I want to give you a clarity in this. So, in order to give you a clarity, I kind of have to start to what you don't know. So I probably will have to spend more than one session on this to go through the whole thing. But then you'll really understand what's going on. And I don't think I even gave this clarity to the Shia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've never given this really.
Okay.
Okay? So it's going to probably take. Okay. But there's another question also. The question is, after the Ein Sof, what's the first world of the Zulosai? The first appearance of the Zulosai. Is it the world of Adam Kadmon?
No, it's got to be before that.
What is that world?
The Rishima.
Right. So where is Olam Haba? It should be in the Rishimu.
Right. So why is it in Adam Kadmon?
Right.
In the Rishima, there is no sense of neshama or guf.
No, nothing.
So
well, that's not really true.
Well, there's I guess there's an outline.
Because the Rishimu, no, that's in Adam Kadmon.
Well, the imprint, I'm saying, of the spheres. So there's some like.
Well, the imprint of spheres occurs even before Tzimtzum. It's in the Ein Sof. No.
So not the Rishima, really the Ein Sof.
Yeah, but you're not going to be in the Ein Sof. It starts, let's say, the world of the Zulosai as an operational being who can fix Nam the Ksufa starts with Tzimtzum. Tzimtzum is therefore called the Shorish Hadin.
When does Tzimtzum start? Right after Rishima? Meaning, or is it prior?
No. Yeah. What happens in Tzimtzum? The Ein Sof withdraws.
And creates the Chalal.
It creates a cholol. In that cholol is the Rishimu. You know, the word Rishimu means a trace. It's a light which is a trace of the Ein Sof. So there's a difference between the light of the Rishimu and the light of the Ein Sof. What's the difference?
The light is contained within the Ein Sof. In the Rishima, there's no light, essentially. It's injected, right? The Kav comes in.
But it's a light. The Rishimu, Roisha means a trace. It's a trace of the light of the Ein Sof. That's why it's called what does a trace mean? That something of what was before still exists.
Still exists.
Yeah. So that's the light of the Ein Sof after Tzimtzum. You know, the light of the Ein Sof before Tzimtzum is called Ein Sof.
Ein Sof.
The light of the Ein Sof after Tzimtzum is called Rishimu. That's what it is. What is the difference?
Well, quantitatively, there's a major difference. I mean, if you're just leaving a trace of something. But are you looking qualitatively? There's many differences.
Give me one. The main one.
Depends how we're defining Ein Sof here too.
Well, how are you defining it?
Well,
I hope you don't mind what I'm doing.
No, I like
I'm
it.
combining method and.
I know that's
So
right.
what I'm going to teach you is in the next couple of sessions is Kabbalah,
Okay.
but according to method.
Okay.
So that means each time we have a certain fact in Kabbalah, we have questions, method questions. So you're going to see how the two come together. And you can see something of my style.
I love it. I love it.
Because all of these are valid questions. What are we trying to do? We're trying to understand what is the Zulasoi. You always have to know, where are you going? What do you want to know? And in order to get there, you have to do what? What's the most important thing as you learn Kabbalah? You have to ask questions. Questions are the clues. Without questions, you'll never know a thing.
Right.
So Einstein said the godless of questions is that they always are potential, they lead to answers. So he held that questions were more important than answers. So the question is, what is really the difference when the Ein Sof withdrew itself and suddenly it pulled itself back, whatever that means? You mean? What suddenly was the result? What was left, I should say?
Right.
So you say the cholol, yes, a space, but the cholol simply means there wasn't really a space.
Yeah.
There was a space means that it was a certain location that was absent of the Ein Sof itself. That's what it means. The cholol was occupied by the what? By the Rishimu, which used to be part of the Ein Sof. You see what I'm saying? So what does that mean, space? It wasn't really a space, an empty space. It was filled.
Just with something different.
With something different. But the question is, what is that difference?
So, in order to figure that out, though, I feel like we need to have a clear definition of the Ein Sof.
Okay, and you know where you're going to get that definition?
From our previous year.
No.
because we talked about it.
Okay, where are you going to get that answer? I'll tell you where. In the name Ein Sof.
Yeah.
It's called, that name tells you what the Ein Sof is.
Yeah, I know, but we previously defined it as self-awareness detached from any being, meaning that is the process of self-awareness. Right? We said there was God, the Chelek, there was the Chelek Eloka Mimav, and we said that the Ein Sof, right? There was God who his essence is awareness, right? His existence, everything is within him. And we said then he created the Ein Sof, which was awareness on its own, and then the Zulaso is where he derives his awareness from, his attach.
Okay, so what does that mean, awareness on its own? What exactly is the main feature of the word Ein Sof that you learn from the word Ein Sof? What does Ein Sof mean?
There is no gvul. There is no end.
So what is that really telling you? In other words, I'll give you a hint. If the Ein Sof is called Ein Sof, what is the Rishimu really called after Tzimtzum?
Sof.
Yeah, or Yesof.
Yesh Sof, because there is a gvul.
Right. So what exactly changed? You're getting close to it.
Yeah.
What does that mean? There's no end and there is an end. What does that mean? What is the word end? Does it mean? Is it talking about length? It means when you say Ein Sof, it means that the Ein Sof is infinite. He goes on and on and on. It's infinite. Yesof, it's not infinite. It's not infinite. It has a certain border.
Spatial border.
A spatial border. Is that what it means?
Of course not. But
No, that's not what it means. The word sof does not apply to a border in terms of a dimension, length. That's not the word sof. So what does the word sof mean?
Nitzchias maybe, but not really, because
What is nitzchias? Nitzchias is a concept of time. There's no more time, but it has nothing to do with space.
awareness. Would it have to do with awareness?
Okay.
Because Ein Sof, right? If we define that as the Ein Sof is the awareness on its own, well, awareness has no. That type of awareness has no end.
For example, take a concept.
Because the Rishima can only be aware of itself.
Yes.
So the Ein Sof is not only aware; it's aware of everything, whatever that is.
But what does that have to do with?
There's no end to the awareness, meaning because everything is in that contained within. But there is no end to that containment. I don't know. I'm just fishing now.
Yeah, you're off the track. Sorry. Let's say a tape recorder, something called a tape recorder in the 17th century. Was there a tape recorder in the 7th century?
No, but there was the concept.
There was a concept. What is a concept?
It's an idea. It's
it's a synonym.
a potential energy.
Well,
A potential reality.
yeah. What is a potential reality? It's like an image,
Right.
a photograph. In other words, you don't have a tape recorder, but you have a picture, an image of a tape recorder. So really, our connection to reality is all through images. You know, because we see everything which is in our mind. We see nothing outside of us. We see what our mind tells us. And so there your mind says, the way you will know what is outside of you, you will see it. I'm going to create the concept of vision.
Which is a lens.
This is a lens, and that concept will produce an image. So you have no idea what you're seeing. You're looking at me. You have no idea. All you know is that this is what I look like. So I'm really nothing more than an image in your brain. I know you don't feel that. But that's a tremendous mistake.
Right.
I'm nothing more than maybe I'm just an image.
Yeah.
At all. No. There's something, what is that? We will never know, because you will only know reality as it exhibited through your senses. Okay, but that's not the point. So what is a concept of a tape recorder before there was a reality of a tape recorder?
Yeah, it's the image of a potential reality.
What does that mean? A concept. How do you form a concept?
Through thinking.
And what is
Through
thinking?
thought.
And what is the essence of thought? What does thought target? What does it produce? Thoughts.
What do thoughts produce?
Yeah, as opposed to an image, a sensory image. My eyes produce what's called sight. What does the mind produce when it has a concept?
Thoughts, yeah, produces thoughts and ideas.
And how does that manifest itself? What is that? What is a thought in the mind? Well, it's not an image. You suddenly have a thought, a concept. Suddenly a concept hits your mind. So you say, I understand it. What did you understand? I understand the concept. That's it. So what is a concept? I don't think you ever thought of these things.
I never thought of how to define a concept.
But a concept has this definition.
Right.
So in other words, if I ask you to define a table, well, no, I ask you to define a tape recorder. What's the definition of a tape recorder?
A device that is able to record sounds.
Good. So what is a concept composed of?
Thoughts, ideas.
No. A thought is something which occurs in your mind, but the result is a concept. What is the definition of a concept? It's different than the image of a tape recorder. What is the difference?
Something in I would say maybe an object that has not yet, that does not exist within reality. I mean, a concept. I have a concept of a car. I drew it out. I visioned it, but the car does not exist.
So you're telling me what a concept is not what it is.
I said that is not in reality, right? So a concept is a. I mean, do you like the word idea?
It's a synonym. A synonym is not a definition.
So.
I'm an action.
I know. Believe me, I know.
That's why I'm such an annoying guy. It's very important. It's not easy not to be annoyed by me.
I'm not annoyed.
And that's a big miler that you're not annoyed by me. Well, put it this way. How do we form a concept? The way I just asked you, what is the concept of a tape recorder? So you gave me a definition. What exactly did you do when you gave me a definition?
I thought about what it is, and then I thought about...
And how did you describe what it is?
I named the object itself, device. Said, what is the actual essence? What's the essence of it?
So you described to me the essence of it. Good. So a concept is formed by a definition. And the definition is the essence, what's called the essential. But what was that essence composed of?
I would say purpose, its purpose. What is the purpose of it? And then a definition of what it is in terms of its physical makeup, meaning it's a device, and then what's its purpose is to record.
You told me what its purpose is and what it does.
Yes.
How it operates.
How it operates. Yeah.
And how did you describe about what the operation? Because what did you describe about the tape recorder that suddenly I understand? You told me qualities of a tape recorder.
Right.
These are words that you use, but each word has, I understand it, what it refers to. So when you told me what a tape recorder is, you described its qualities. First of all, the main word, it's a device. Okay? So if it's a device, I understand the difference between that and a book. In a certain way. Okay, it's a device. What kind of device? Well, it's a device that does certain things. It does certain operations. You know?
Could have said electronic device.
Okay, that would... So
qualified even
that
more.
Qualified even more. So in other words, you described the word tape recorder, the tape recorder, and you told me what it is, what it's composed of, and the answer is its qualities, its properties. You said to me, I'll tell you what a tape recorder, what it does. He said, it records. It's a device which records what? It records audio signals or sound. Oh, so suddenly I understand what you're talking about. Because you've described the word tape recorder in terms of what its qualities are. If a tape recorder had no qualities, somehow, could you then understand what it is? No.
Right.
So you know what the Hebrew word that refers to qualities? So when I say Ein Sof and Yeh Sof, what does the word Sof means? Well, the word Sof literally means an end. But that's not what it is in this case. What does Sof really mean? That it is not an end, that it ends.
Right.
And what does it mean? It ends in what?
Qualities.
Right.
You can define it in a sense. You can come up with a definition because there are a limited amount of qualities which are contained within that object. But
very good.
But the Ein Sof, they're infinite qualities. You can't define it.
It doesn't say infinite qualities.
Well,
Infinity is a number. It's a number that never ends, but it's a number. We're not talking about infinity. We're not talking about something that goes on and on and on. That's a mathematical concept.
Right.
What does it mean, Ein Sof?
There are no qualities.
Right. Therefore, can the mind understand what is that object? Could it form a concept to something that has no qualities? No. In other words, the word Ein Sof means it's beyond qualities. It doesn't have an edge. In other words, how do you know this table? When you see this table, how do you distinguish between the table and the floor?
By its qualities, of course.
Yes. Why? Because the table has an edge. It has a border. What does that mean? It stops at a certain point here and something else goes on. So you say, oh, I'm looking at the border, and because I see the border, I distinguish between two different concepts, the floor and the table. So that's what an edge means. An edge means it has a border, and what the border, it has a quality. I can grasp it because of a certain quality that it possesses. That's what Sof means. Yeh Sof means I can grasp it. It's comprehensible. And what does the word comprehensible mean?
You can understand it.
I can understand it. I can form a concept of it. Why? Because I can describe to you its edge, how it's different from everything else. That's what an edge means. Because the concept of an edge tells me where it starts and where it stops. So therefore I can understand, I can understand what a tape recorder is because I understand its edge. And its edge, it's a device which reproduces sound. Those are qualities of it. That's called an edge. So that is a Yeh Sof. It has an edge. It can be conceptualized. But an Ein Sof, it cannot be conceptualized. You can't form a concept of it. Why? Because it has no edge. You can't distinguish between Ein Sof and Yeh Sof. You can only in one sense. This has an edge and this doesn't. So therefore, this is inconceivable. I use the word comprehensible. The brain can only understand that which has an edge. That's what we defined as an essence. If you can't
you've defined Ein Sof.
I've never defined it. I am defining it now. I'm not defining it by what it is. I can't tell you what it is because it has no qualities. So what words will I use?
Well, I'm saying
I don't
talked
have.
about it as being self-awareness detached from.
Forget about self-awareness. I'm talking about the property of how to describe something. In order to describe something and to understand the essence of it, it has to submit the qualities because that is its edge. And I'm telling you, what's the difference between the Ein Sof or something, this thing or that thing? The way you define two things between table and floor, you notice the qualities which determines its border.
Understood, I know.
But the Ein Sof has no border at all. What does it have? I have no idea. It's beyond the brain to grasp because it's beyond essence. It's beyond definition. It has no qualities. What word can you use to describe what it is? You have no word because there are no qualities. Even if you say the Ein Sof is infinite, it is not infinite. Infinity is simply a number that you can never reach. That's a quality.
So why is it possible to define what God is but not Ein Sof?
Did we define what God is?
In a sense.
No. All I said is God has self-awareness. But does that mean I understand the self-awareness?
Well, we said God is a subject who possesses centrality. In a sense, it's definition.
What is the definition of God?
A subject that has no cause and has...
But does that really tell me what it is?
No, it doesn't really.
That tells me what it isn't. It has no cause.
But it tells you there are qualities to it.
What quality?
It has no cause.
Okay, but that's not a positive definition, because you're defining something in what it's not. It's not something which has a cause. Okay, but that doesn't tell me what it is. It tells me what it isn't, and that's a certain way to understand it. You're right, but that's the best I can do. So therefore.
Right.
So in other words, when I talk about who is Nathan Franco, I can point to certain qualities. He's so high, he's this and that, he's so intelligent. I mean, I can describe your qualities, so I know therefore who you are.
Right.
But when I define something by what it's not, okay, am I close to it? Well, I'm close in a certain sense. I can't get closer. Why? Why doesn't God have any properties or qualities? Because God is beyond quality.
Right.
So the question is what? Now you're really in trouble.
So we've described, but we have not defined.
No, you haven't stopped. You're really in trouble now. Because what's the difference between the Ein Sof and Atzmuso?
Right, if they both have no qualities.
Yes.
So
Good.
how's there a difference?
Nice. They both have no qualities.
Unless you said cause, right?
No, that's a non-quality.
No, I'm saying, well, yeah, because if you want to say that the Ein Sof is caused by Atzmuso,
and that's why Ein Sof has a cause in a certain sense.
Right.
How do I know that? What's the one word that describes Ein Sof that tells me it has a cause?
Can you repeat the question? What's the one word within Ein Sof, within the name?
No.
Within it.
It has a name. It's called this. You know what the Kabbalah calls Ein Sof? The Ari calls Ein Sof? It's a one-word answer. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 letters. I said it many times, but I don't think anyone understands it. What I'm saying.
The Ari calls the Ein Sof.
Yeah, he has a certain name for it. You see, one of the things in method is when you suddenly see anything, a word, a definition, so on, you have to certainly rely on your intuition. Wait a minute. He's called it by this name. That means it has a name. The Ein Sof has a real name. In a certain way, it has a real quality.
What name is that? I don't remember it.
Ritzonai.
His will. The Ratzon of Hashem.
Now, why can you define that? Because the Zulasa also has a Ratzon. Intent. Wait a minute. So therefore the Ein Sof is not totally beyond quality. Except you don't know what that quality is. Well, so therefore if you feel, and you have to feel this intuitively, that Ritzoni implies a quality, well, so in that case, what's Atzmuso? Bingo!
No quality.
No, absolutely no quality.
Even though we say God has all these qualities.
Yeah.
He doesn't really.
It's totally untrue. God doesn't even have the quality of self-awareness.
So how do we say
Forget about what we say. Listen to me. How do we? So if the Ein Sof has absolutely no qualities, so we suddenly begin to understand, why doesn't Ein Sof have any qualities? Why doesn't it have a will, which is the most fundamental thing about a living thing?
Why doesn't who?
The Atzmuso.
Atzmuso.
Why does it possess a will?
Why doesn't it?
Yeah.
A will indicates that something is lacking or needing.
Good.
There's nothing lacking or needing.
Nothing. So why would God have a will for anything?
Right.
So whatever God Atzmuso is, we have no way to grasp it. Really, you're really out of luck. So when you say that the Atzmuso has self-awareness, no, not really. Why?
But the Ein Sof?
Atzmuso.
Yeah, because awareness is a quality or a...
Right. But it has to have self-awareness, because it has to be aware of itself, because that's the way it's manifest. But what's the difference? The difference is that the Atzmuso does not possess self-awareness.
It is, in a sense.
You know, if you say you possess something, that means that thing that you possess is outside of you. But the Atzmuso has nothing outside of him. But we know that it has self-awareness. And that's the reason why it's manifest. How does the Atzmuso know that it is? Because of self-awareness. But what's the difference between the self-awareness of Atzmuso and your self-awareness?
Causation. Cause. Well. Yeah, what do you mean by itself? Itself. The itself.
We don't know what that is.
Meaning, God's aware of himself by
we have no, by itself only exists. That itself has a self. But there's only one answer to that. Because God does not have self-awareness.
Yeah, he is.
What?
Self-awareness, meaning his essence and everything. It's wrapped in his essence, meaning it's
right.
Part of him.
In other words, he is self-awareness. He doesn't have it. He is it.
Yeah.
What does that mean? No knowledge. We have never met a being like Atzmuso. Nor will we ever meet him. Because when you describe the qualities of a person, all these qualities is what the person has. He's this, he's that, he's this. These are all edges. But God is identical to his edge. What does that mean? So therefore, the definition of God, of Atzmuso, is that God surely is beyond concept. But he's not only beyond concept, because we can't be teufus the concept. He's beyond having a concept or not having a concept.
Right.
He's not even in the category of concept. Ein Sof is in the category of concept. But how does he have a concept? Can we understand him? No. We can't do much better than Atzmuso. But we can understand about the Ein Sof what it is not.
Right.
Atzmuso, we cannot understand what it is and what it's not.
Although the only thing we can understand is that it has self-awareness.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way anything
can exist. And I get rid of the word existence because existence is something you either possess or don't possess.
Right. Manifest.
But God has nothing to do with either side. That's why the Ein Sof is not God. God made the Ein Sof. But he made a being who's beyond concept. Wow. How did he do that? We have no idea.
The Kabbalah doesn't even talk about
No, it doesn't. The Kabbalah says it's forbidden to talk about it.
how the Ein Sof was created.
Yeah. What the Ein Sof is, how it's created. The Ari says the only thing we're allowed to talk about is from the Rishimu down. He said not even the Rishimu. You're allowed to talk about the world of Adam Kadmon because that's full of concepts. The Spheres, Batsufam. Everything is there. Beyond in the world of the Rishimu, you can say something about the Rishimu, that this was the trace of the Ein Sof, but it is forbidden. Why? Because you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
You can't even talk about it.
Yeah.
You cannot talk about something which is beyond concept.
Right.
So that's just when you're talking about the Ein Sof. When you're talking about Atzmuso,
Totally different level.
so the difference between Ein Sof and Atzmuso is absolute, is the absolute subject, where he doesn't possess anything, he is what he possesses. It's the same thing. The Ein Sof, to some extent, is Ritzonoi. God had to create a will so that he can create the Zulasoi. Wow. Again,
I know, but how does this change the way we've talked about things in the past? Meaning now, this makes me believe that the Ein Sof really is a Malbush.
yeah, okay, you can think that. It's some form of Malbush, although we have no grasp.
Yeah, but you've retracted on that concept of it being a Malbush.
No, I didn't retract in the concept. It sounds like usually the word Malbush is something that you can understand, is a clothing on something else you can understand. The whole concept of Malbush, clothes, is you understand both are subject to concept. It's like, for example, Rachamim is a Malbush on Din. And you can understand certain things, something which is covered by something which is. Mm-hmm. But what does that mean? Something which is covers
something which is not.
Which is not, which cannot even be conceived. You know what I mean? You can say it's a malbush, but it's something unlike anything we've ever seen. Nor can we ever understand how one comes from another. But the key that opens up this whole line of reasoning is one word. That I suddenly saw all of this from one word. Ritzonai.
Right.
Nobody asked this question. Nobody says that God had to create a will. Everyone assumes God had a will. He had a will to create the Zulasai. So therefore they say that the Ein Sof is God. Many Mukubalim believe that the Ein Sof is God.
I think 99.9%.
Yeah, they talk about him, and then when they talk about the Ein Sof, what do they say? Yizborach.
Yeah,
Yizborach. They talk like he's God. But he's not God. But he possesses something which is similar to God. He's beyond concept. So that's a very strong similarity.
Beyond
but he's not
concept, except for the fact that he does have a will, which is
right.
a concept.
Okay, you go figure that out.
All right, yeah.
But the Ari never wanted to get involved in all this stuff.
Right.
Because you can't really go much further. But we see that there's a definite difference, in this thing. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So, Atzmuso is absolute. means that there is nothing else but absolute. Ein Sof means that there is something else. Where does that something else lie? In its Ratzon. The Ein Sof is able to conceive in certain ways of an outside, the Zulasoi. That's why the Zulasoi is still considered an outside to the Ein Sof. But how can you have the outside of the Ein Sof? So what does that tell you the significance of? What do you mean? Wait a minute. The Zulasoi, is it inside the Ein Sof or outside? Well, if the Ein Sof had a will to make it, in other words, it can conceive of something that it's not, in a way. So we're at the edge of divinity, in a certain way.
Meaning, because, just to get a little more clarity on that, the Ein Sof can create something that it's not. Meaning that it can conceptually create a being that is not.
It seems to be it's not the Ein Sof.
Outside,
Yeah, but wait a minute. But obviously, within its parameters, whatever those are, it contains the Zulasoi inside of it. And that's why. So the Zulasoi is partially in and partially out. It's some kind of weird
of this Ein Sof.
Of the Ein Sof. What is it? We can't understand. Because we can't understand how something which is in concept is connected to something which is beyond concept. Where do they meet? We cannot be teufus it. But you know, but that's a relationship which is different than every relationship that followed it. And that relationship has a name.
Which relationship?
Between the Ein Sof and the Zulasoi. There's a name for it.
For the relationship?
For the relationship. You know what I mean? It's in it and it's out. It's not in it. We don't understand that, but we can see that this is the first type of relationship that can exist.
Zivug.
Oh, very good. I'm shocked. How did you figure that out?
Well, relationship. What type of relationship?
That's what the word zivug means. You're me and you're not me. Like a woman.
Yeah.
Before we were both,
yeah.
And now we're two. In a certain sense, this is what happened. The kind of relationship was created with the Ein Sof by Atzmuso was the relationship of a zivug. But the zivug is between what? I'm you and I'm not you. Where does it end off? We cannot understand.
Right.
Because we can't understand how something which is in concept and has an edge is connected to something out of concept with no edge. That's beyond us. But so that's why it says, when it says Yosis Aloyach Elokoyach Im Shois Chosen Akala, that's talking about the relationship of zivug. So now we begin to understand the relationship of zivug. You see how it slipped into our minds? We have a very deep understanding of what a zivug is. A zivug is beyond. Look, if you look at relationships, you have 3 levels. 2 things separated. Both are in concept. 2 things that are really separated in a way, and they're not separated because they're both doing a sub-job. Both of them are doing the same job. The job is different, but they're connected together. And what's that called?
On the brink of divorce.
Okay. What is that called?
They're both doing a subpar job.
Like the organs in your body. They're all doing the same job. They're keeping the body alive.
But they're not together.
What
Organism.
is it? Oh, the second one. There's a new thing called organism, which is different than the table and the thing and the floor. That's not an organism.
Right.
They're 2 pieces of furniture in the same room. That's it. So the second thing is, now there's a third thing.
Right. And that is complete union. That's like...
So I call it a superorganism. What is that? That's really something which has never been seen in the world. A superorganism. That's the relationship between the Ein Sof and what? The Yesef.
The Zulaso, essentially.
There's Yesef. There's a Zivog. What is that? That's a superorganism. Because it means that there was once a time when they were together, yet they had the ability to be apart. And that's called a Zivug. So, when we look at the relationship between two items, you have the concept of Zivug. They are one and they're not one. The next concept is the concept of an organism. They are not one because they're separate things, but they have the same function. They're like a team. Mm-hmm. And that's called an organism. Right. And then finally, when two things have no connection, this table has nothing to do with the floor. It can either be on it or not.
Right.
And that's called individuals. That's called individuations.
Right.
Wow. So where is this world going to? So in other words, goes from object, two things are completely separate, subject
to super.
Subject, which is an organism in Olam Hazeh, and super subject, an organism in Olam Haba. So in which direction are this flow? It's going in which direction?
Yeah, pyramid.
And what does the pyramid do? The two sides are gradually doing what? They're meeting, and that's called Achdus, unity. And ultimately, that's the Achdus. And finally, there's one more level where the will connects to the entity, and that's Atzmuso. That's another level. So now what you're looking at is the whole operation of manifestation. You see the picture that you're getting?
Right.
So did you have this picture before?
No.
You see how far you've come?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for giving you a headache.
No, it's good. I love it. No headache.
And all of this I was able to produce from one word about the Ein Sof. Yeah.
Yeah, but the troubling part with that is essentially that means that Atzmuso had a ratzon to create the Ein Sof. But then we said that Atzmuso can't have any ratzon.
We don't know what to say.
We don't know. It's too...
Right, because if you created the Ein Sof, then you had to have a ratzon. But we know the Ein Sof is the ratzon. So what's Atzmuso?
Yeah, that's a troubling one.
Right. So that's where you have to stop.
That's why he said you can't go further.
Right. The Ari warned us.
But why'd they go into calling God a Meitiv, and that's the whole entire reason he created?
That's only what you can say. Who was the Meitiv? Atzmuso or Ein Sof?
So they're referring to the Ein Sof.
Yes.
The Ein Sof has a quality of... Because God doesn't have... Atzmuso doesn't have that quality.
No, why doesn't God have the quality of the
There's nothing outside of you, so you're not giving it to anything outside.
But everyone thinks that's the quality of God.
So really they're touching on the Atzmuso, which in a sense is... It's very... Now I'm very troubled by it. Now I'm very troubled by it.
Why?
Well, because what is the Ein Sof? What is it? Is it the Zulaso or is it God? Or is it some sort of hybrid?
No. So you could say that the Ein Sof is the zivug of the Zulosoi.
Zulasa with who? With Atzmuso?
No, with Ein Sof.
How? But
because there's a certain piece of outside that is in the Ein Sof.
a certain piece of outside that is in the Ein Sof, which is the Zulasa.
Yeah.
Which tells me that, yeah, but where does the Ein Sof stem from? It's not Atzmuso?
Yes, Atzmuso.
So that's what I'm saying, is the Zivug, the Ein Sof is the Zivug of Atzmuso and Zulasa.
No, you can't say that.
Why?
Because the Ein Sof doesn't have any, the Atzmuso does not have zivugim. It has no will. There's nothing outside of it. There's not even the possibility of something outside of it. It is so devoid of an outside that you simply have to give up and say, we'll never know. And that's what the Kabbalah says. You can't go there. But we are allowed to think of Atzmusoi as if it was the Ein Sof. And that's what we think of God. In other words, you're allowed to feel about God through the Ein Sof.
Right.
But you have to daven to God as Atzmusoi. Although,
Right. These are deep concepts nobody thinks about or nobody talks about.
although the Ramchal, I think the Vilna Gaon also, says that the Ein Sof is not Atzmuso.
Really?
Yeah, he says it. But he talks about the Ein Sof as if it was Atzmuso. He always says, Baruch Hu. The Ein Sof.
Yeah.
Baruch Hu. Because that's the uppermost level. Why? Because you can define the Ein Sof. How? Negatively. You cannot define the Ein Sof positively because it doesn't have a Sof. There's no quality that you can give it. But you can say what it lacks.
Right.
But Atzmuso is beyond the concept of concept. It has nothing to do with either its presence or its absence. You can't touch it. Nor will you be able to ever touch it. So when God says, Loi machshavosai machshavosich, but God speaks of himself as if he has thoughts.
Yeah.
That's Ein Sof. Because the Ein Sof is a mativ, and the Hatov is the thought. So Atzmuso talks like an Ein Sof, but it is not an Ein Sof. I don't know if you realize or not, you have a much clearer idea of God.
Yeah, it just creates so many more questions now.
But these are questions that have no answer.
Right.
They will forever remain as questions. Okay, so I'm satisfied with 500,000. You won't give me 1,000,000. I mean, that's what it means, tofasta maruba, loy tofasta.
Right.
Yeah.
We never defined concept, though.
A concept is a mental image. It's what's called an intellectual image, as opposed to a sensory image. A sensory image is a photograph in the brain. I'm seeing you. You're a sensory image. An intellectual image is not only I'm seeing a sensory image, but I know who you are automatically. I see who you are. That's a spiritual image. And that's prophecy. Now you understand what a Navi is. A Navi is what's called a physical image. I just simply would see your shape and so on. You know?
Yeah.
A spiritual image is when I see you, I immediately know the concept of what you are at the same time. I don't have to think about you.
Right.
That means as soon as I see another neshama, bingo, I know who it is.
Right.
And what its relationship is to me.
Right.
In the thought itself, I don't have to do any thinking. That's nevuah.
Right. So nevuah is a
spiritual image, it's called.
like,
it's a mara ruchni.
Yeah, but what is it? What is ruchni in this? Like,
so what it's doing, it says, what a novi is a person who can see through the eyes of his neshama, not its guf. It's even though there's a neshama in you, you cannot know and see what it knows.
Right, but a navi can see
a
through
navi,
the lens of the neshama.
Right, that's what a navi is. Why? Why is it you have to see through another thing? But that's because of death. That's because of the chet of Adam Rishon. So when Adam Rishon saw his soul, he didn't see his soul. He was part of his soul, and he was part of his body, connected.
Wow.
So Adam Rishon was never a Navi.
Is there an awareness? I'm just trying to think. Yeah.
And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu was even greater, not than Adam Rishon. Who was bigger, Adam Rishon Kodim Achet or Moshe Rabbeinu? That he was awake when he was looking through his neshama. You have to see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean,
now you can understand. You can, because normally, in order for a Navi to have nevuah,
they would go into a trance.
They had to go to a tardemo. It's called a trance. Why? Because what happened? Because that trance was one step away from death.
Well, it like took away the physical was gone, so the physical lens was removed, and then the spiritual was able.
It was almost gone. That was at the last step.
Well, they were sleeping. They didn't have physical awareness in a sense.
They didn't have They had the awareness, but they, in order to do that, they had to separate from the body, withdraw from the body. Moshe Rabbeinu did not have to withdraw.
He'd just be sitting here talking like this.
He can use the physical awareness to look and see spiritual awareness. He was that close.
What did he do to achieve that? Like, what was the? I'm saying, I know, but
that's a good question.
My shaila is we see the story of Moshe, and it's just like it seems like he was just born this big soul, and then he was in the house of Egypt. Like, what did he do? What did he do? Some avoda? Like,
no,
talk about it.
Because when you look at Moshe Rabbeinu, he was a Gilgal of who? Hevel.
So he just got killed, and he gets that zechut. It's weird.
But he was able to see spirituality while awake. What does it mean awake? Being totally physical. It's amazing. Everyone had to go into a tardema.
He would just be sitting here, and he'd be like, "Hold on," and just speak with God. And then,
So
who was he speaking with?
Well, he was speaking Ein Sof, of course.
God doesn't speak.
But it was pretty good. And that's why, how did he die?
Neshika.
Why?
Because he was that close. I mean...
Yeah.
That close.
That close. Why? Neshika wasn't something special that was given to Moshe Rabbeinu. Neshika is the madrega of death. When you can see spirituality while you're awake. That's why it was the only death that was available to him.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It makes it sound like, whoa, Moshe Rabbeinu, he died through Neshika.
There's no other option.
What?
There was no other option for him.
Because that was his madrega. Right. If you can talk to God while being totally awake, you're going to also pass away through Neshika. So you don't know, I don't know if you realize it, you understand very deeply who Moshe Rabbeinu was, what a Navi is, and Neshika, wow. The difference between physical vision and spiritual vision.
Is there? I mean, Are there two levels of awareness? I guess in each human.
Yeah, there's an awareness.
But we're completely blocked from the other awareness. It's from spiritual awareness.
The level of awareness of Adam Rishon Kodim Achet, we have no concept of that awareness. Everyone thinks, who was Adam? He was like a regular guy. He did a stupid thing. He's a regular. No, because Adam Rishon was higher. Adam Rishon was not a Navi.
So he was higher than Moshe. That's
of course before the Chet. Of course.
Meaning, because there was no even physical and spiritual separation.
Right. You didn't have to be a Navi.
You didn't have to be a Navi.
God spoke to him. Does it say anything? How did he get that Madrega?
Right.
Well, he did mitzvahs. He did an avodah. Well, what did he do?
He was simply formed.
Simply, the Torah says, "Vayedaber Hashem." That was it. I mean, he wasn't a tzaddik. He was because he was. He was partially a spiritual being. That's why he was very close to being. That's why there was no death. What do you mean death? Death is only the separation of the physical and the spiritual. That's death.
Almost full separation.
Yeah.
Just to the end, right? We said it.
Yeah, but Adam Rishon was not. He was physical and spiritual at the same time. So he had nothing to do with this act of separation. He never died. He never had anything to do with death. He didn't even know what death was. When God said to him, "On the day you eat it, you will surely die."
It was a concept.
It's a concept. So Adam Rishon said, "Huh? What are you talking about?" Because nothing died. Even animals didn't die. So even an animal wasn't an animal at that time. And surely, what was invented after Noach, after the Dor HaMabul, an animal came, a new category. What was that?
A new category of animal?
Yeah.
Prey. Prey. Prey.
Yes. And who goes after prey? What is it called?
Predators.
Right.
Yeah.
Predation.
Predation.
Why did that appear after the Mabul? There was no predators.
Right, there was no predators prior to the Mabul.
No, what does that mean? Why do one?
Well, there were human predators. Right, humans killing other humans.
Yeah, there were humans in that sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was really not predation. Because the reason why humans killed other humans is to steal from them, or to empower yourself. It wasn't.
But not you're saying predation in terms of eating.
Eating. There was what a lion. What does it say in Yeshaya? And the lamb.
The lamb and the lion.
What does that mean? What?
The lamb and the fox.
When a lion sees a lamb, forget it. That's lunch. I was watching yesterday a documentary on predators.
Oh.
And I said they were talking about lions. You could see the whole history of lions. Not every waking moment, but as soon as they're hungry, there's only one thought in their mind.
Did you know that their tongue is extremely sharp and can shred flesh just with licks?
I didn't know it. I felt it.
Oh, you felt the tongue of a lion?
Didn't I tell you my story?
No.
So I'll end with my story. I was in Zimbabwe. I was in Zambia, in Africa, on a safari. So I saw that in Zimbabwe, which is a country next to it, there was a certain organization called Lion Walk. And what was that? It was an organization that saved lions from the jungle when their parents, they were orphaned lions because the parent died. So they found these lions and then they brought them into the country Zimbabwe, and they brought them up, and after they were about a year and a half, they released them to the jungle. But while they were in the possession of this organization, they were tame. So you can walk with them. And to do that, you had to pay them $100.
Wow.
So I said to myself,
Absolutely.
And these were lions without leashes. So I go there and so on, and there's a bunch of people, about 10 people in a group, and he says, I'm going to bring you to the lions, but it's important, these lions are young lions, it's important not to show them you're afraid, while everyone is sitting there.
Shaking.
Okay, so he brings us to lions, and he brings us to, I never told you the story.
No.
Wow. This was the most incredible thing that happened to me in 30 years of traveling. So there were 3 lions, male lions, and they were sitting
with the fur?
they were sitting on a rock and so on. And people were standing about 10, 15 feet away. And everyone said, and these lions were without a leash, without anything. So the guy says, who wants to come over and sit next to the lion? Of course. Yeah. I'm a nut job. So I said, well, if he's inviting us, he's not inviting us to get eaten, He'll never get his $100. So I went over and I sat down right next to a lion. The lion was bigger than me when he stood up. This was not, there was a young, maybe, I don't know, a teenager or a young adult, but this was a lion. And I'm sitting right next to him. And I'm looking at him, and I see he's doing nothing. So I started to touch him, pet him in his stomach. I'm petting him, and I see he's not responding. Okay. And so I'm doing this for a couple of minutes, and everyone is standing back. And so the guide says, okay, now we're going to walk with the lions. So I get up from the thing and so on, and then all the people walked with the lions. 3 lions.
So the lions jump down and they start walking?
Yeah, they sit down and start walking. So while I'm walking, I'm holding the lion's tail.
You were just holding his tail? Wow.
Oh, wait, but I haven't finished. So suddenly after that, so I'm walking with the lions, and after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, so the guide says, he sees me and he says, you come over here. I don't know what he wants, So I go over to him and he says, get down on your knees. Just bend down. I have to bend down, so I'm on my knees. Yeah. So I'm sitting on my knees, Right, I'm not sitting, I'm actually with my knees in front. Suddenly, a lion, I don't know where it comes in, and he walks over to me, and he puts his head to my head. He's looking into my eyes. Wow. I'm looking in the face of a lion.
Wow.
Suddenly, he takes out his tongue and starts to lick my forehead. You know what? Why? I didn't... I was in a state of shock because
it's affection, right?
I don't know what it was, but he was licking my forehead. But apparently, it was a sign of affection.
Yeah, that's what they
somehow. So in other words, he called the lion over and he put the lion there and was licking my forehead. I don't know how long, maybe a half a minute.
Did it kill?
What?
Did it hurt?
No. I could feel it was like rough.
Rough, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if he was doing that to prepare me for dinner. Because they do that, why they have the cat? Because what they do is they rip the skin off and they draw blood, and that's what incites them, triggers them. Yeah. But he's licking me. I could feel it slightly, but it wasn't strong.
Right.
A leopard also, they lick you first.
Right.
Cats always lick. If you watch a cat, they go there, they start to lick it and so on, because they're preparing the food by the licking. So he's licking me. So someone took a picture of it, of me with the lion. They're all watching this, and I'm sitting I'm on my knees, and there's a lion looking into my face and licking me. Wow. And then suddenly, after that, he stops licking me and he goes away. So I got up. And I said to the guy, you took a picture of this? You must send me this picture.
Do you have it?
No. I don't know. We lost contact, and never again,
Do you have pictures from your traveling?
Yeah.
I would love to see next time maybe some
Yeah, I
pictures.
have 2 pictures with me, and 2 Maasai warriors are standing next to me with their spears.
I would love to see
I
your
have it
pictures.
somewhere. I'll try and find
You
it.
don't have like albums with all
No,
different
I never looked at the pictures that I took. I came back home, and I never bothered. I developed them. They were all photographs, in a visual camera, not a digital.
Right.
Okay, but I never really looked at them. I
Do
never
you
looked.
still have the what do they call them? The film?
I don't think so, because the film was used to develop the pictures. I have the pictures,
Right.
but I know. But I have a lot of pictures.
I would love to.
I think a couple of thousand pictures.
Really, I would love to look through them and see them.
It's
It's probably amazing.
You know what I mean? You see this, alligator. I mean, everything.
I would love to. I would love to see that.
So that was the most shocking thing that ever happened in 33 years of traveling.
Yeah, that's face to face with the lion.